Welcome, everyone, and thank you for coming today. At this time, I would like to acknowledge the Onondaga Nation, firekeepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous people on whose ancestral lands Syracuse University now stands. Today, we gather not only to remember, but to honor the lives senselessly lost in the Pan Am Flight 103 disaster. As we lay these roses and stones, let them symbolize not just our shared grief, but our commitment to celebrating the enduring spirit of those we've lost and our dedication to nurturing and uplifting those who follow. The loss of that day continues to be etched deeply into our collective memory and works as a testament to the fragility of life and the strength of our shared humanity. Each rose and stone we lay carries with it the weight of our sorrow, but also the hope that we will transform our mourning into meaningful action. In the face of such loss, we might be tempted to retreat into our own corners, to let despair divide us. But instead, we saw then, and we see now, how to lean into our community, draw strength from one another, and forge ahead with purpose. For in unity, we find the power to heal, to support each other, and to create a world where tolerance, kindness, and interconnectedness is key. All of us stand before you today as Remembrance and Lockerby scholars, and it is our shared responsibility to honor and remember all 270 souls who died in the Pan Am 103 bombing. As students ourselves, we can easily connect with the students who passed, but all of the victims are connected to us, and we remember and act forward for them all. Whether they took classes in the Hall of Languages, laughed with their friends in their dorm, or were playwrights, businessmen, or flight attendants. They were sisters, brothers, daughters, sons, and friends. We are sisters, brothers, daughters, sons, and friends. We have intentionally chosen to be committed to all 270, chosen to be connected to their stories and their dreams, connected to their lives, and we're here to share that, remember it, and play a role in honoring their lives. As we take this time to remember their souls, let us also celebrate their lives by embodying the values they cherished: love, resilience, and courage. Let each act of kindness we perform and each step forward toward understanding we take serve as a tribute to their memory. As we lay these roses and stones, let us make a pledge to honor their lives not only with words, but with deeds, to build connections that transcend sorrow, and to work together to create a future marked by peace and solidarity. In this moment of remembrance, may we also reflect on how to act forward, turning our shared grief into a force for positive change. Together, we can ensure that their legacy lives on, not just in memory, but in every compassionate action we take. Not just in this moment, but in the everyday way we live our lives. I would now like to introduce performing Remember, composed by our very own Remembrance Scholar, Ryan Myers.
In a church called Thundergard, a congregation raised their hearts to hear a choir from far off sing, to ease the pain of sorrow's sting, and in their names remember. Spanning oceans far away, the students, parents, mourners stay to hold them close, the 35, to keep their memories alive, and in their names remember. So long as the buildings stand. We'll lay the rose, we'll join our hands, so long as any of us live. We'll share their stories, laugh and grieve, and in their names remember.
Students in the greater Syracuse community to opportunities to travel abroad and to broaden their horizons.
I am Eliza Elliott, and on behalf of Linda Baguma, who is studying abroad in South Africa, I lay this rose in memory of Kenneth John Bissett. Linda is acting forward by advocating for ethical considerations in policy making, particularly around terrorism and global violence. Inspired by Kenneth's artistic stance against unethical actions, she aims to contribute to decisions that balance security with moral principles. Through her studies in international relations, she is committed to fostering dialogue on global security and working towards a more peaceful, just world.
I'm Adam Baltax, and I lay this rose in honor of Stephen J. Boland. I am acting forward by bringing those together through conflict, through dialogue, working to imagine a more beautiful world, like Stephen's favorite, John Lennon.
I am Tanner Beauchard, and I lay this rose in memory of Nicole Boulanger. I'm acting forward by advocating for others in unconventional or overlooked areas to make sure everyone's voices are heard.
My name is Donis Kamet, and I lay this rose on behalf of Syracuse Army ROTC in memory of Cadet Timothy Cardwell. I will act forward by carrying Timothy's legacy and memory with me during my service in the U.S. Army and beyond.
My name is Natalie Delenga, and I lay this rose in honor of Theodora Cohen. I'm acting forward by dedicating myself to the pursuit of national security and inspiring others to share in the mission of protecting people from future tragedies like Pan Am 103.
My name is Charlotte Ebel, and I lay this rose in memory of Gary Colasanti. Gary and I share a passion for sports, and I'm acting forward by working to enshrine gender equity throughout professional sport.
My name is Luke Elliott, and I lay this rose in memory of Scott Corey. I act forward following Scott's example as a loving and devoted son, brother, and friend. I will strive to find bliss in each moment I live and every person I encounter.
My name is Mason Garbus, and I lay this rose in the memory of Gretchen Joyce Dater, a talented young artist. I plan to act forward through music, using its inspirational capacities to inspire others, build community, and encourage peace, like Gretchen sought to do through her art.
I'm Joshua Garvin, and today I lay this rose in memory of Shannon Davis. I am acting forward by building and promoting spaces that allow for creativity to flourish with authenticity, while also using music as a vessel to impact my peers and others and tell those stories that have gone too long without being told.
My name is Tabitha Hume, and I lay this rose in honor of Turhan Michael Ergin. When I think of the profound impact of Pan Am Flight 103, I'm reminded of the quote, "Grief is love with no place to go." This flight, meant to bring together family members, friends, beliefs, stories, cultures, and above all else, love, has changed my perspective on action. As a pre-medical student studying public health and health humanities, I plan to act forward by pursuing a career as a physician focused on patient equity and forever a dedication to service.
I'm Abigail Jones, and I lay this rose in honor of John Patrick Flynn, lovingly referred to as JP by friends and family. According to his brother Brian, JP's heart was in coaching and helping younger people. I am acting forward by working with youth organizations in Syracuse that plant seeds in our community and help young people achieve bright futures.
My name is Rajan Joshi, and I'm laying this rose in honor of Pamela Elaine Herbert. I'm acting forward by committing to help build communities through a common goal of selfless service and faith in each other.
My name is Sierra Kaplan, and I lay this rose in stone in memory of Karen Hunt. I'm acting forward through a career in health policy, advocating for and pursuing new pathways to affordable, accessible, and higher quality healthcare for all.
My name is Kelsey Leary, and I lay this rose in memory of Christopher Jones. Both my parents attended SU during the tragedy, and hearing their stories is what has driven me to become a Remembrance Scholar. As a photography major and aspiring photo documentarian, I hope to act forward by using my passion to bring light to people and situations in need.
I'm Nadia Lindo Summer, and I'm laying this rose in honor of Julianne Kelly. This fall, I will be acting forward in her honor by becoming the first person in my extended family to attend law school and to pursue civil rights, criminal justice, and immigration law. I'm also finishing my 3-year-long research project currently about how AI in policing marginalizes Black and brown communities, and I hope to use this to uplift the voices of community organizers who have been calling for change. My name is Sophia Moore, and I lay this rose in memory of Wendy Lincoln, a gifted artist and compassionate friend. I am acting forward by connecting people through storytelling and filmmaking, creating thought-provoking work about our shared human experience.
My name is Zachary Murray, and I lay this rose in memory of Alexander Lowenstein. I'm acting forward by following Alex's legacy, by dedicating myself to selfless service, carrying on his love for life by helping others.
My name is Ryan Myers, and I lay this rose in memory of Suzanne Miazga, who took every opportunity to help other people. I'm acting forward by educating people on how communities respond to crisis, and by sharing with others through story and song who and why we remember.
I'm Mark Zazi, and I lay this rose in honor of Richard Manetti. As a pre-medical student with experience in research and clinical settings, I'm acting forward by mentoring underrepresented students, providing them with the resources and tools necessary to empower them in shaping their identities as future leaders in healthcare and science. On behalf of Cheryl Olanga, who is studying abroad in Copenhagen, Denmark, I lay this second rose in honor of Anne Lindsay Otenesek. Cheryl is acting forward by educating herself and others on effective trauma response by utilizing the mental health resources offered through Syracuse University's Barnes Center.
I'm Adya Aditi Parida, and I lay this rose in memory of Peter Pierce. I'm acting forward by using the technical and human skills I learned in my computer science degree in the College of Engineering here at SU to better serve my community with faith, love, and integrity.
My name is Jenna Poma, and I lay this rose in memory of Sarah Susanna Buchanan Phillips. I've dedicated my studies to civic engagement, public policy, and global security, striving to learn from history and act forward towards a more just, secure future. Ultimately, I aspire to become an attorney, advocating for an intelligence agency whose mission is to prevent atrocities like Pan Am Flight 103.
My name is Tia Poquette, and I lay this rose in honor of Frederick Sanford Phillips, affectionately known as the Sandman or Sandy. Sandy was a talented and passionate musician, athlete, and poet. I am acting forward by exploring my interests and expressing them through writing, art, and creative endeavors to make meaning of loss and celebrate life.
I am Alekia Rajasekaran, and I lay this rose in memory of Louise Ann Luann Rogers, a bright soul. I am acting forward by paying attention to not only science, but also to others' unique socio-cultural backgrounds to better educate myself and serve each individual as a future physician.
My name is Olivia Reed, and I lay this rose in honor of Thomas Britton Schultz. Like Thomas, my academic studies have centered around government, driven by a desire to harness this powerful tool to better the lives of others. Following graduation, I will undertake a career in government. This will allow me to dedicate my life to serving others, my ultimate passion.
I am Mason Romero, and I lay this rose in memory of Amy Shapiro. I am acting forward by becoming a music teacher, shaping the next generation of people to be both musically literate as well as socially conscious members of society who will be inspired to do great things in the world and change it for the better.
My name is Ali Savane, and I lay this rose in memory of Cynthia Cindy Smith, whose life represented leadership, compassion, and creativity. I am acting forward by pursuing my studies with the goal of becoming a physician. Through mentorship and leadership on campus and in the community, I strive to create opportunities for future generations, especially within underrepresented communities.
My name is Abigail Scott, and I lay this rose in memory of Mark Tobin. I plan to act forward by getting my MD PhD and working as a physician scientist to develop treatments for neurodegenerative diseases and working to ensure healthcare is accessible to everyone, as well as helping others from different backgrounds get involved in healthcare and research by always going the extra mile for whoever I can, whenever I can.
My name is Ivan Shen, and I lay this rose in memory of Alexia Tessaris, a compassionate photojournalist and a talented athlete. I am acting forward by researching and designing spaces that promote community resilience, dignity, and hope in vulnerable parts of the world.
My name is Justine Smith, and I lay this rose in memory of Nicholas Vrinos. He carried the nickname Smiley, and I too hope to spread joy to everyone I meet. Nicholas's favorite quote was "Go for it," just as my dad and I have always said, and I hope to go for it, act forward, and achieve my dreams of pursuing a career in public policy and fighting for the greater good.
My name is Josh Spodek, and I lay this rose in memory of Keisha Whedon, along with her boyfriend, Timothy Barron Johnson. Like Keisha, I have dedicated my undergraduate career at Syracuse University to helping others through volunteerism and public service. As an aspiring social studies educator, I will act forward, ensuring that my students are provided with an education that is meaningful, equitable, and engaging. I want my students to create connections with themselves, their histories, and the society in which they live.
My name is Alyssa Sutherland, and I lay this rose in memory of Miriam Luby Wolf. I'm acting forward by being a leader on campus and beyond. I'm using my skills to promote and teach cultural competency, as well as the importance of inclusivity and interdependence in every community.
I'm Evelina Torres, and I lay this rose in memory of the Pan Am 103 passengers. I am acting forward by dedicating myself to community building and civic engagement, particularly in the context of grief and creating positive change in policy.
I am Leandra Tyler, and I lay this rose in memory of Pan Am 103 flight crew. I chose to act forward by eradicating food insecurity here at Syracuse University, allowing students to thrive and succeed with less stress and worry. Soon I will become a doctor so I can continue to advocate for those with mental health disorders. I hope as my journey continues, I inspire those near and far to be kind, spread love, and accept those around them as they are.
Following Pan Am 103, Syracuse University formed an enduring relationship with Lockerby, Scotland. To memorialize this relationship, 2 Lockerby scholars have been chosen annually to study at Syracuse University. This year's scholars are Cameron Colville and Anna Newbold. At this time, they would like to share a few words.
What does it mean to face unimaginable tragedy and still find the courage to rise? How does the small town of Lockerby, thrust into the international spotlight by an act of unspeakable horror, find the strength to heal, to rebuild, and to show the world that even when darkness looms, hope endures? Let us remember this past today, and let's not solely dwell on the sorrow, but on the resilience. Let us remember that even in the depths of our lows, we have the capacity to heal, to connect, and to rebuild. This bond between Lockerby and Syracuse University, between two communities forever linked by this shared loss, remains testament to this truth. Lockerby's story is not one of defeat though. It's a story of triumph in the face of evil. It's a story of how we, as human beings, can rise from the ashes of our darkest moments, stronger, more united, and with a sense of hope. Just under 14 years after the Pan Am 103 air disaster, Lockerby faced yet more anguish after loss of Lockerby Syracuse scholar Andrew McLuhan. Andrew passed away while finishing out his first semester at Syracuse. He was described by many as a kind soul who inspired others and uplifted those around him. Although I never met Andrew, hearing the words that people have said about him paints a picture of an amazing person, and it was clear to see that on that day we lost a valuable member of our community. Andrew had a quote that he used in his speech: "Lift your face to the sun and the shadow will be behind you." I feel like this personifies Andrew's outlook on life and is something we can all apply to our own lives today. Although these words can never truly do justice to what happened to Andrew and those victims, I hope you can all share with me the same sense of inspiration and the same belief that, together, we can face anything, we can overcome anything, and we can rebound stronger from anything. Because no matter how hard the obstacle may seem, our humanity will always guide us home. I lay this rose for Andrew McLuhan.
More than 400 parents lost a child. 46 parents lost their only child. 7 children lost both their parents. More than 140 children lost one of their parents. 65 women lost a husband, and 11 men lost a wife. All it took was a matter of seconds. A matter of seconds and 31,000 feet descended into zero. A matter of seconds and the Christmas excitement flooding through the streets of Lockerby quickly transformed into shock, horror, pain and grief. At 6:25 p.m. on the 21st of December 1988, Pan Am Flight 103, Clipper Made of the Seas, departed from London Heathrow. 38 minutes later, at 7:03 p.m., a bomb exploded, creating a basketball-sized hole in the fuselage, causing the plane to break apart almost instantaneously over my hometown of Lockerby, killing all 243 passengers, 16 crew, and 11 Lockerby residents. I grew up 10 minutes outside of Lockerby, but moving into secondary school, Lockerby became my second home, and a place I visited almost every day. On the surface, the small Scottish town is a place of peace and serenity, displayed not only in nature, but through the nurture displayed by the community's welcome, warmth, and hope. Yet for many residents, the remnants of a tragedy that remains the deadliest terror attack in British history still lies deep within, and all residents process their grief in their own personal and reserved way. I feared when I began writing this speech that being so young would hinder my ability to truly connect with the disaster, and in some ways, I felt like a fraud. But since immersing myself into the Syracuse community and deepening my knowledge and understanding of all aspects of the events that took place, I realized this isn't the case. I never knew our Lockerby 11, and I will never truly understand the raw emotions that were felt not only by families and friends, but by the entire community that tragic night. However, one thing I do know is that Joanne Flanagan and Lindsay Somerville, both 10, and Paul Somerville, 13, never had the chance to truly experience Lockerby Academy, the place that has supported me on a journey allowing me to stand here today. Kathleen Flanagan, Thomas Flanagan, Rosalind Somerville, and John Somerville, known as Jack to family and friends, never had the chance to see their children grow up or fulfill their dreams and aspirations. Dora Henry and Morris Henry never had the chance to grow old and grey together and experience their life together. Mary Lancaster and Jean Murray never had the chance to say goodbye to those they loved as they sat alone in their homes in Sherwood Crescent. But most of all, they never had the chance to act and progress forward in their lives. I'm blessed to have the opportunity where I can act forward. I can talk, encourage, and educate others, both students and those in the widening communities of Syracuse and Lockerby, about Pan Am Flight 103. I can and have formed unbreakable bonds, newfound relationships, and memories that will last a lifetime. I can be inspired by my fellow Remembrance Scholars' backgrounds, future plans, and their personal proposals of acting forward by leaving an impact on the real world. And I can share this with my community back home. I can inspire both children and adults to be involved in their communities, whether that's sports, theatres, choirs, organisations, committees, or groups, that our Lockerby 11 and all 270 victims never had the chance to experience. I can make a change, fueled by passion and commitment to ensure that even as the distance of time increases, future generations continue to keep the victims' names and memories alive. I promise to live my life to the fullest in honour of all the dreams that could never be fulfilled. I lay this rose in memory of Joanne Flanagan, Kathleen Mary Flanagan, Thomas Brown Flanagan, Dora Henrietta Henry, Morris Peter Henry, Mary Lancaster, Jean Aitken Murray, John Somerville, Rosalind Hanny Somerville, Paul Somerville, and Lindsay Ann Somerville. If anyone would like to lay a flower, If anyone would like to lay a flower in memory of the victims, please come forward and do so now, as Avery Head Place Flowers of Scotland. Chancellor Kent Siverud, Dr. Chen, Provost Agnew, Dean Seaman, and Reverend Dean Conkle will begin the laying of flowers. Please take a carnation if you would like to. We will now have closing remarks by Buddhist chaplain Joanne Cook.
Let us come together today in gratitude and for this opportunity to support each other in the remembrance of those killed on Pan Am Flight 103. Let us celebrate this great mandala that unites us right here, right now. And let us open our hearts and offer this prayer to all beings, with or without form. May we and all beings be free. May we be free of physical suffering. May we be free of mental and emotional suffering. May we be safe. May we have joy in our lives. May we take care of ourselves happily. May we be free of anger and hatred. May we have peace and forgiveness in our hearts. And may we extend this mind over the whole universe so that we and all beings together may attain maturity in true wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today in remembering and honoring the 270 individuals aboard Pan Am Flight 103 and all others lost to acts of terrorism. We invite you to join us in Hendricks Chapel for the Remembrance Convocation, which will begin at 3 p.m. Thank you.
Should we do that? Good afternoon. I would like to welcome everyone to the Remembrance Convocation and remind you to please silence or turn off your cell phones. At this time, I would like to acknowledge with respect the Onondaga Nation, firekeepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous people on whose ancestral lands Syracuse University now stands. I'm Aileen Gallagher, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and Professor of Journalism at the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications. I chaired the Remembrance Selection Committee last spring, so it is my pleasure and privilege to act as host and MC for this convocation honoring the 2024-2025 class of Remembrance and Lockerby Scholars. What I found from reviewing your applications is that you are students who care deeply about this university. You are servant leaders who seek opportunities to engage with the world around you, on this campus, in the city of Syracuse, or even on the other side of the globe. You study our shared history and demand better of our present. And like the scholars before you, your cohort now joins the lifeline cast from the darkness of 1988 into the light of today. Convocation comes from Latin and means to call together. Let us now call ourselves together to remember those who have passed, to recognize those who are here to work toward a better world, and to contemplate what that world might look like. I now welcome the families and loved ones of the victims of Pan Am Flight 103 and the Remembrance and Lockerby Scholars. I welcome members of the Board of Trustees, both in person and via the live stream, members of the Remembrance Scholar Selection Committee, and representatives of the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'm joined on stage today by Chancellor Kent Syverud and Dean of Hendricks Chapel, Brian Kunkel. On behalf of the Platform Party and the Remembrance and Lockerby Scholars Program, we acknowledge the support of all our donors, particularly Board of Trustees Chairman Emeritus Richard Thompson and his wife Jean, and Board of Trustees Chairman Emeritus Stephen Barnes and his wife Deborah, and the Syracuse Association of Zeta Psi, who support Remembrance as major donors to and supporters of the Remembrance Scholarship. A list of generous donors to the Remembrance Scholarship Fund can be found in your program. At this time, I would like to ask Dean Brian Kunkel to the podium to give the invocation. Please rise if you are able.
Please join me. May we learn to love anyway, even when the world around us is packed with pain, even when the thoughts within us are filled with fear, even when we are targets, even when we are tempted, may we learn to love anyway. Even when anger surrounds us, even when confusion stirs us, even when ignorance hurts us, even when betrayal bounds us, may we learn to love anyway. Even when we are praised, even when we are critiqued, even when our dreams fall from the sky, even when we must live with the things we cannot change. May we learn to love anyway. And may this love change our hearts, and may this love transform our world. This day and always we pray. Amen.
You may be seated. Thank you, Dean Kunkel. At this time, I am pleased to introduce the 12th Chancellor and President of Syracuse University, Kent Syverud.
Thank you, Professor Gallagher, and welcome on behalf of everyone at Syracuse University, and particularly welcome to our distinguished guests and really to our whole campus community today. This is my 11th Remembrance Week. I confess that in my first years at Syracuse, the Friday of Remembrance Week was quite disorienting to me. I was disoriented because on this day there is such a juxtaposition of ceremonies. On the one hand, we witnessed the rose-laying ceremony, which you've just been at. While always moving, the rose-laying can also be quite wrenching, as we recall so many wonderful human beings whose lives were cut short by an act of supreme hate. On the other hand, we go directly to this convocation with a celebratory processional, and we celebrate amazing and wonderful current students who are so very much alive and who embody supreme acts of love, who embody the wonderful future that those human beings on the plane and on the ground in Lockerby were denied. For me, this abrupt transition from rose-laying to convocation was at first actually incredibly hard and confusing. To go from somber to celebratory in just a few minutes made me unsure whether I should wear black or orange, whether I should smile or cry. And sometimes I was doing both at the same time, or at least so close together that I felt it was a little more than I could endure. After more than 10 years, I now realize that this juxtaposition is actually intentional. Indeed, it was the fairly brilliant design of those good people, some of whom are present and some of whom are of joyous memory here and in Scotland. Those brilliant people who helped build the whole Remembrance program in the first place. Because you got to think about the origin here. What could have been more abrupt and wrenching than what happened in the sky and on the ground in Lockerby in 1988? We went in a few minutes, as you heard at the rose-laying, we went in a few minutes from a group of people on a plane and on the ground joyfully anticipating, celebrating the holidays at home, celebrating with acts of joy and love. We went from that to a terrible act of hate that left sundered lives and debris on the ground and in our hearts. And it felt like the scar would never really heal. And what we have done today, what we do at the end of every Remembrance Week for more than 30 years, is that we have just as abruptly reversed the narrative. We have gone abruptly from sorrowful reflection on an act of hate to celebrating acts of joy and love that have followed, and celebrating the people here at Syracuse University and in Scotland and Great Britain who have paid forward the potential for goodness that was so abruptly interrupted on December 21st, 1988. This convocation really celebrates amazing students who have embraced the best of the people who were on the plane and on the ground in Lockerby. These scholars we're celebrating today in this ceremony are literally a thrill of hope so a weary world can rejoice. We rejoice in each of them today in this ceremony. I grew up in a Presbyterian church with a Scottish pastor in upstate New York. And right about this time of year, every year, he made us all sing one of the oldest hymns in the book, "Now Thank We All Our God." For those of you who don't know it, the first verse goes like this: "Now thank we all our God with hearts and hands and voices, who wondrous things has done, in whom this world rejoices, who from our mother's arms has sent us on our way with countless gifts of love that still are ours today." With countless gifts of love. For me, the abrupt transition today from rose-laying to convocation captures what these students and so many Remembrance Scholars and Lockerby Scholars before them have come to achieve, to help exercise a single act of horrible hate by countless gifts of love that still really are ours today. I am so deeply grateful for that transition. I'm grateful for the supreme effort of so many here today to bring grace and goodness out of what happened in 1988. And I thank you all for reminding me of this each year so forcefully on the Friday of Remembrance Week. Thank you.
And thank you to the Hendricks Chapel Choir under the direction of Jose Pepe Calvar and organist Ann Laver. I would now like to call 2024-2025 Lockerby Scholars Cameron Colville and Anna Newbold to the stage. The Lockerby Scholars are selected each year through an application process by a panel consisting of members of the Lockerby Trust and members of Syracuse University's faculty and staff. They will study at Syracuse University for 1 year before returning home to complete their studies. We are pleased that Cameron and Anna have joined the university community, and it is my pleasure to present each of them with a small token from the university. Now I would like to introduce the Remembrance Scholar speaker. By tradition, the Remembrance Scholar speaker's name is not published in the program because this student represents all 35 scholars. This year's Remembrance Scholar speaker is Yifan Ivan Shen. Ivan is an architecture major in the School of Architecture.
Good afternoon, Chancellor Severud, Dean Conkle, and Professor Gallagher. Good afternoon, their families and friends of the Pan Am 103 victims, faculty, staff, and my fellow students. My name is Ivan Shen, and it is my honor to share my thoughts with you today, representing the Remembrance cohort this year. My initial encounter with Pan Am Flight 103 came when I rehearsed with the Hendricks Chapel Choir for the first time, just days into my first semester in the United States. As someone born and raised in China who came to the United States at the age of 19, I initially found it difficult to comprehend the depth of this tragedy and its significance to the Syracuse University community. Where I grew up, commemoration is approached very differently in a more reserved culture. It was through conversations with senior students in the choir, many of them who were Remembrance Scholars, that my understanding began to grow. These discussions opened my eyes to the historical significance and the deep sense of loss shared by this community. Cross-cultural empathy began to take root in me when we sang "We Remember Them" at the Remembrance Convocation in the past years. I felt the weight of sorrow, but also something else, an unexpected empowerment. It was as though, through our singing, we were carrying on the victims' unfinished work and healing wounds. And the experience reminded me that we are part of an academic community striving to do good in the world. Outside of singing with the Hendricks Chapel Choir, my work as an architecture student and researcher also offers me a layered understanding to the model "Look Back, Act Forward." In architecture, looking back means understanding the history and struggles of a community, while acting forward means respectfully intervening, whether through physical or speculative projects, to heal and uplift. I've seen this model come to my life in my own academic experience at Syracuse. In 2022, I was selected to lead our design team in the National Organization of Minority Architects annual competition. Our task was to design a community center for an African-American neighborhood in Nashville, Tennessee, which had been scarred by the constructions of interstate highway as part of the nationwide trend of transportation infrastructure construction that displaces vulnerable communities. As a Chinese student, the issue of racial equity in the US context was somewhat unfamiliar to me. However, by engaging with local community members, artists, teachers, and elderlies, I began to understand their pain and their aspirations. Our design, which honored the neighborhood's collective memory by empowering local artists to express their vision on mural walls and educating visitors on historical traumas through architectural forms, was awarded an honorable mention. This experience showed me how architecture can heal communities. Look Back, Act Forward became even more personal when I traveled to Rwanda for my research funded by the university. There, in the post-atrocity landscapes 30 years after the 1994 genocide against Tutsi, I saw how listening to the stories of local residents became part of the healing process. The purpose of my survey was to understand how local communities create and utilize public space for community building in informal settlements, which has been stigmatized as backwards and dangerous. My conversations with architects, educators, NGOs, developers, and more importantly, the residents, the victims, survivors, not only informed my understanding of the neighborhoods, but also helped guide potential new affordable housing projects. In Rwanda, looking back truly was acting forward, both for the local communities and for me as a researcher. At the end of this year, I'm going to Kenya to continue to act forward. This spirit of remembrance is shared by my fellow Remembrance Scholars who act forward in ways that inspire hope and change. Ryan Myers, for example, uses power of music to bring people together. Through his leadership with autotunes a cappella and his role as a cantor for the Lutheran campus ministry, Brian connects people through songs in times of both grief and celebration. He hopes to create, and I quote, a collection of songs and stories that capture the pain caused and the spirit of remembrance that endures, sharing them with communities to bring healing through melody. Mark Zassi found his calling in service to Congolese refugee women in Syracuse. As a Swahili-speaking digital literacy tutor for Covia, a new English speaker education organization, Mark supported the women as they told their stories through powerful narratives. He saw in them what he described as a familiar fire, a spark reminiscent of his own upbringing in Kenya, where education was a rare privilege. Mark's work in a repurposed church attic was not just about teaching keyboard skills, it was about empowering women to move forward the lives they dreamed of in defiance of oppression and silence. And my heart goes to women around the world who are still struggling for their basic rights. Adam Baltax has also worked to build bridges in times of deep division. Following the recent Israel-Palestine conflict, he co-founded the Jewish-Muslim Fellowship, fostering weekly dialogue between Jews and Muslims on campus. Amid tension, he created constructive conversation about very difficult topics, laying the foundation for the coalition building and understanding. Adam's journey from Syracuse to the Interfaith Leadership Summit in Chicago and his upcoming attendance in the Global Peace Summit in Thailand in 2025 are testaments to his commitment to peace through dialogue. And finally, Leandra Tyler's story is one of resilience and advocacy. As someone who faced food insecurity firsthand, she now tackles this very issue on campus through her work at the Hendricks Chapel. Leandra's advocacy extends to ensuring programs like Higher Education Opportunity Program and Pell Grants remain funded, giving opportunities to non-traditional students like herself. Her personal journey from earning a high school equivalency diploma to attending Syracuse University is a living example of breaking barriers and leading by example to pave access for all who needs it. These are just a few examples of the remarkable commitments to service by our Remembrance cohort. There are too many of them that I cannot list at this point, one by one because of time. When I hear about how my fellow scholars are taking every opportunity to make a change, whether it's performing a small job in a community or preparing themselves for making a bigger impact in the future, I feel that I am not alone acting forward. And last fall, in the misty meadows of Lockerby, Scotland, 35 years after the tragedy of Pan Am Flight 103, I witnessed the most profound example of remembrance and resilience. As part of the student ambassador cohort to visit Lockerby organized by the Syracuse London Center, I walked the lands and spoke to witnesses. It was during these moments, alone standing in the quiet of a Scottish dusk, that I imagined the wreckage of the plane 35 years ago laying solemnly on the ground. I thought about the parents waiting at JFK airports for their children to come home for Christmas, unaware of the tragedy. At the same time, I reflected on my own parents' generation, far across the world in China. Right around the same year, students across the country, around the same age group as the 35 students, were marching towards the Tiananmen Square protests, fighting for their ideal of democracy and freedom, not knowing of the violent oppression that awaited them, not knowing some of their fellow students will depart forever, and not knowing how their fates and the fates of 1.4 billion people in China will be changed forever. 35 years later, and there I was, a Chinese boy, standing in the peaceful Scottish dusk, grieving for the souls of victims of the US and UK and all the 21 countries. But the pain I felt extended beyond Lockerby. As I stood there, I think of violence from the war-torn part of the world today. I think of Sudan. I think of the Democratic Republic of Congo. I think of the Middle East, and then to Ukraine. I think of the minority groups, the indigenous people who has continued to endure violence and suppression in this very country in the US. I think of children today still suffering from food insecurity. People bear the pain of loss across space and across time. Whether it's the 35 students from Syracuse, protesters at the Tiananmen Square, or civilians caught in conflict, innocent children caught in conflict today, we are all bound by a common thread of suffering. Sometimes when I look at the world, what's happening around the world and what's happening today, I wonder, are we really in a better world than in 1988? But in this shared pain, we also find the strength to act. Today, we must continue to act forward, to fight for justice and a better world. Our grief, though heavy, should not divide us, and in our pursuit of the brighter future, we must confront difficult questions. In the crossroads of the election, do we stand for peace instead of hatred? When others offend us, do we destroy their families in return? Does a government really need to demonize another state to gain legitimacy? These and a lot more questions we must face, and our answers define who we are as a community and as a society, regardless of our upbringings and citizenships. Sometimes, when I read the news, when I visit other countries, when I talk to people around the world, I feel like I'm no longer just a student in America. I'm no longer just Chinese. I'm a citizen of the world. And so, dear family and friends of the Pan Am 103 victims, faculty, staff, and my fellow students, let us rise above our divisions. Let us be critical to the messages we receive. Let us reclaim our empathy that transcends the nationalist confines, and let us act not just as witness to the history, but so that when one day we reunite with the lost souls from 35 years ago, we can proudly say we have been authors of a future where peace, justice, and human dignity prevail in every corner of the world. Thank you.
The names of this year's Remembrance Scholar Selection Committee are listed in the program. The Remembrance Scholarships were established by Syracuse University to honor and remember the 270 men, women, and children killed in the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103, especially the 35 Syracuse University study abroad students among them. The scholarships are awarded to the distinguished senior-level undergraduate students on the basis of their academic achievement and civic engagement. This year marks the 36th anniversary of the bombing and 35th year that Syracuse University has honored Remembrance and Lockerby scholars. Counting this year's cohort, there are now 1,225 Remembrance scholars and 70 Lockerby scholars who embody the motto of the program, Look Back, Act Forward. The names of previous Remembrance and Lockerby scholars are listed in the program. I will now be joined by Christine Velivis. Christine is the sister of Cynthia Cindy Smith, who is among the Syracuse University students killed in the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. Cindy was a junior majoring in fashion design and marketing in the College of Human Development and a member of Delta Phi Epsilon sorority. She had spent her fall semester abroad in London. Today, Christine represents her family and the families of all those whose lives were lost in the disaster. She will present commemorative pins to each of the Remembrance Scholars. Will the Remembrance Scholars please come forward? We ask that you hold your applause until all the scholars have been recognized. Alba Al-Jabori. Adam Baltax. Tanner Beauchart. Donis Kamet. Natalie Delenga. Charlotte Ebel. Luke Elliott. Mason Garbus. Joshua Garvin. Tabitha Hume. Abigail Jones. Rajan Safal Joshi. Sierra Jade Kaplan. Kelsey Quinn Leary. Nadia Lengdo Summer. Sophia Moore. Zachary Murray. Ryan Myers. Mark Zazi. Adya Aditi Parida. Jenna Poma. Tia Poquette. Alekia Rajasekaran. Olivia Reed. Mason Romero. Ali Savane. Abigail Scott. Ivan Shen. Justine Smith. Joshua Spodek. Alyssa Sutherland. Evelina Torres. Leandra Tyler. There are also 2 students currently studying abroad who could not join us today, Linda Baguma and Cheryl Alonga. Please join me in a round of applause recognizing the 2024-2025 Remembrance Scholars. At this time, I would ask you to rise if you are able while the scholars lead us in singing the Alma Mater, which is printed on the back cover of the program. The Remembrance Scholar Convocation. Please join us in the Syracuse University Strasser Legacy Room, 220 Eggers Hall, for a reception with light refreshment. Thank you for sharing this convocation with us. Have a wonderful afternoon.